Hey everybody, what's going on? Heatsoul here. I got another Master Duel video for y'all. So today I'm going to be talking about the Master Circuit series, the inaugural tournament, which I participated in. Well, at the time of recording this, just now, I'm recording this just after the finals actually have finished. I just got done watching the Brandon Despia mirror match in the finals there, which was very, very good. And yeah, for those who are not aware, or who were not aware to begin with, I did participate in MBT and Duel Logs tournament, and of course, you know, among other hosts and sponsors as well, the Master Circuit series, and I finished 6-2 overall, ending in 27th place. Yeah, I ended up on the bubble there, and unfortunately, I lost the first round, which was also my feature match, go figure. Yeah, due to that, I didn't have the best tiebreakers in the world, and even though I went 6-2, I was not able to make top cut. I did, however, have a lot of fun playing in the tournament, and I very much plan on participating in the future as well. So I wanted to talk about my tournament list here, which actually isn't any different from the Mathmech list that I used in my deck profile for Season 14. This is the exact same build. We're still on 3 Effect Veiler and 2 Imperm. The 3rd Effect Veiler was a suggestion from a commenter. Pro Sketch OFW, I believe, was the one who left the comment suggesting, you know, the 3rd Veiler is a little bit better than the 3rd Imperm, or might be because of Small World. And in addition to that, another very niche reason I like 3rd Veiler is the Heatsoul as well. So as far as my games in the tournament went, I did save some of the replays. Unfortunately, not all of them, because I gotta be honest, this is like the second time in all of this my year playing Master Duel that I've used rooms, and I didn't initially know how to save replays for them. So yeah, the first 3 rounds I did not get replays for, but I'll briefly talk about those here real quick. So I actually wrote down just a little bit about the games. Like I said, my first round was a feature match, and that was just a total Maxx fest. Unfortunately, I lost the Maxx minigame twice in the first round. Yeah, I went second. I opened Maxx and Ghost Belle, so I fired off the Maxx on my opponent's first turn. It was a Mathmech mirror. But they had a crossout for it, which sucked, because if it had been called by, I could have used the Ghost Belle, but alas, it was exactly crossout, so unfortunately my Maxx did not go through. They did their stuff, and then on my turn, I had to play through a Maxx that I did not have a response for. And while my opponent didn't have Nibiru, they did have an Imperm to stop my OTK, so alas, there is no way around that, really. Unfortunately, lost that first round there. Let's see, the second round. Oh my god, the second round, I was in such despair. That's right, because I actually opened all 3 of my Effect Veilers. I went second against Tri-Brigades. I opened all 3 of my Veilers, and then I also opened Called By and Mathmech Equation. Now, my opponent did a Fractal setup and then went for Rescue Cat. I managed to Veiler the Cat. They then went to Special Karos, and then actually banished all 4 Tri-types out of the graveyard, and then I used a second Veiler. We passed back and forth once each after they made Farajit, because after that I talked Parallel Exceed, which isn't a play by itself, so then I had to pass back. They hit me directly and then pass back. Then after that I drew Small World, used it to banish my last Veiler, and then Nibiru for Circular, and from there I was able to use that plus Parallel to go for an Accesscode OTK. So managed to eke out a win in round 2, was not really thinking I would. Round 3, I went second yet again, once again versus the Mathmech mirror match. This game wasn't really that interesting. Honestly, I didn't open any disruption, so once again I thought I was just going to lose, but my opponent actually bricked. All they had was Imperm and Called By, which they set both. Then on my turn, because I didn't open any disruption, I just had all gas, so I was able to make a Linguriboh and an Alembertain with a Diameter live before going for an Accesscode OTK, and then I just won. Round 4, I actually was supposed to play against Mount Fuji, who I later found out from MBT actually fell asleep on that round. So rip him. I'm so sorry to hear that. That sucks. But yeah, no, I got a no call no show win for that round. So those were the first 4 rounds. honestly, for the most part, even though I didn't capture them, I would have shown you them if I did, but I didn't, and honestly, they really weren't super duper great. The last 4 rounds I played, which I did get the on replay, are going to be much better. Now, I did have a lot of people asking me, both on Twitter and in the comments, like, hey, are you going to stream? Hey, are you going to stream? I really wanted to, and I explained this on Twitter as well, I really wanted to focus on my gameplay, so that is why I opted to not stream. I also, I mean, I gotta be super duper honest, like, I definitely much prefer making content for YouTube than streaming, so, but all the same, you know, like I said, I really just wanted to make sure that I was focusing on my gameplay. You know, getting good results was decently important to me. This was the first time I played in a tournament in like 7 years, a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, so it was really cool to be playing in this kind of a competitive setting again, and like I said, I very much look forward to playing in more tournaments in the future. So now we're going to go ahead and take a look at those last 4 rounds that I played in the MCS, but before we do that, as always as ever, I'm going to go ahead and break down my list card by card, and I'll show you, or I'll tell you actually what I was playing on side decking, if I had made the top 16 cut as well. Let me just flip to that in my notebook. Here we go. All right, so we were playing in the main deck 3 Valor, 3 Effect Valor, 3 Maxx, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 2 Ghost Belle and Haunted Mansion, 2 Mathmech Sigma, 2 Mathmech Addition, 2 Mathmech Subtraction, 3 Mathmech Diameter, 3 Mathmech Circular, 3 Parallel Exceed, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 3 Cynet Mining, 1 Mathmech Equation, 3 Small World, 2 Called by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, 2 Infinite Impermanence, and then a Mathmech Superfactorial. Now for the extra deck, we had 2 Primathmech Laplacian, 2 Primathmech Alembertain, 1 Link Disciple, 1 Link Devotee, 1 Linguriboh, 1 Cyberse Wicckid, 1 Update Jammer, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Cyberse Wicckid, Splash Mage, 1 Transcode Talker, 1 Decode Talker Heatsoul, 1 Apollusa the Goddess, and then 1 Accesscode Talker. As for the side deck, I kind of went back and forth on the 15th spot. I had 14 of the cards down pretty pat. I was going to side 3 Joel Mockbird, 1 Nibiru, the Primal Being, 1 Ghost Belle and Haunted Mansion, 3, I'll go ahead and show you Token Collector. I'm sure most of you know this card, but yes, I was planning on citing 3 Token Collector in case I ran into Sword Souls. 2 Lava Golem. Lava Golem is actually a great card to side exactly in Mathmech because it's a great bridge and is also searchable off of Small World. With Small World and Lava Golem, you can actually use Parallel Exceed as a bridge to get to Circular. You reveal Exceed, and then Lava Golem is 8, and then, of course, you reveal Lava Golem, and then Parallel Exceed, and then Circular. You can also get Lava Golem off of Ash Blossom or the Mathmech Addition Subtraction, so on and so forth. So Lava Golem, good sideboard card and also good bridge to Small World. Was also going to side 2 Anti-Spell Fragrance, 1 Infinite Impermanence, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, and then like I said, that 15th slot was really up in the air. I was kind of thinking about maybe a DD Crow or a Lightning Storm, maybe a Gamma Seal, like a Kaiju. I don't know. I really... yeah, I didn't work as hard on my side deck as I should have, to be totally honest, but, you know, lessons to learn for the future. Definitely going to put a lot more thought into it moving forward. So that's the list, and that was kind of my recap of the first 4 rounds again. Round 1 had a pretty decent back and forth, but was ultimately kind of, again, a bit of a Maxx fest against the Mathmech Mirror. Round 2 opened 3 Valor against Tri Brigade and somehow managed to win. Round 3 went second, opened No Disruption against the Mirror, but they bricked completely, so I ended up winning. And then round 4, again, I had a no-show opponent. So at this point in the tournament, we were 3-1, so let's jump straight into those next duels. Alright, so in round 5, I played against Sky Striker, which I was just looking at their deck. They were on triple Nibiru, which is, wow, that's a lot. It's pretty good against, you know, Mathmech, and Sword Soul, of course. And yes, it's actually cool. On room replays, you actually get to see the other person's hand, which I kind of wish you did in regular replays too, but Oh well. So, yeah, I went first here. I did manage to open Circular plus an extender, so that's pretty nice. Opening Sigma with Circular doesn't really do anything. It actually doesn't extend you, as far as I know, it doesn't really extend you at all. But Equation with Circular, this is going to be, if this all resolves, of course, this is going to be a turn 1 hand rip with the Laplacian on top of the Superfactorial into Laplacian and all the other regular stuff. So, yeah, I'm going to send Diameter with the Circular because I've already got the Sigma set up here. Follow that by specialing the Sigma there. Going to overlay those two next into Alembertain. I managed to get another Maxx off of that draw there. Oh, wait, draw? Wait, I didn't have a draw, did I? No, did I just reorder the cards in my hand? That's weird. What happened there? Yeah, that was weird. It, like, reordered. Oh, no, I see. It's because... Okay, yeah. I'm just getting tripped up by this dual room replay thing. Anyway, yeah, no, here I do end up getting stopped by the Ash Blossom, the Primathmech Alembertain there. So that is a little bit unfortunate, but I do already have the Superfactorial, so it's ultimately going to be fine. My opponent, you can see they do have both a Ghost Spell and a Called By in the waiting, though, so that's going to be a bit of a yikes. But either way, I'm going to get to fire off my Heatsoul here, which, you know, ideally we'd like to end on... you know, an Apollusa and Linguriboh going into the opponent's turn. This Parallel Exceed would have been really nice to have earlier, but what can you do? But you know, Heatsoul is fine enough to draw here. So the opponent's going to fire off a Maxx, which was actually a really good bait on their part. I know they were getting me to use the Superfactorial because, of course, if I don't use it in response to the Maxx, then I have to wait. Or rather, if I wait and don't use it in response to the Maxx, then they're going to ultimately end up getting 2 draws off of it. So definitely don't want that. I figure it's going to be a bait, but I decided to take it anyway. It's also really smart to use it in response to the Heatsoul activation, just in case I drew something to negate the Ghost Spell, which is coming down here. Yeah, and actually I really should have fired it off. Well, no, it really wouldn't matter. Never mind. I was going to say, to play around Call By, maybe you should have fired it off during the draw phase, but of course not. It's a quick play spell that doesn't play around anything. So here I'm going to fire off the Maxx in response to a normal summoned Ray. I know they can use Ray's effect, but you know, I'm going to want to play the Maxx either way. They have a Called By, which is fine. I'm not really bothered by that. So, you know, at this point, they've just got Ray and 1 card in hand to my Heatsoul, so I'm not like super duper worried here. I figured they're probably just going to go for Hayate and send the Engage and then wheel it with Kagari, but they actually do so by using the Mobilize Engage here. Now, I could be missing something, but I'm not really sure what Mobilize Engage really plays around. Using it now during the battle phase as opposed to just linking Hayate into Kagari during the main phase, but again, maybe there's something I'm just not seeing here. Opponent's actually going to have a really solid play here. This Afterburners on Heatsoul looks kind of mid, but what my opponent's actually going to end up doing is, or at least I thought it looked mid, but what my opponent's going to do is actually Shizuku for Shark Cannon, and then fire it off from hand during the end phase, and because they have 3 spells engraved, now they actually get to bring my Heatsoul back and draw 2 total off of it. And I'm actually curious to see what they draw here, because I was wondering, okay, one of them is going to be a triple tactics talent. And the other draw was Rose. Okay, so it was 2 dead draws. Yeah, at this point, when I was playing against this opponent, I wasn't getting any prompts, like, you know, to respond from them. So I figured they probably didn't have anything too crazy here. But... yeah, I figured they probably weren't going to have anything too crazy, but I was still a little bit weary all the same. And mostly just curious, honestly. So again, it's cool that in room replays you actually get to see your opponent's hand. Yeah, so I like to try to play in a way where I can get the Diameter negate before I go for the Accesscode OTK whenever possible. Now again, if my opponent actually had like Nibiru or something, they could have stopped me, you know, a long time ago, but all the same, you know, better to have it not need it than need it not have it. Yeah, so at this point, I can just go for Update Jammer and use that with the Wicckid. Go for Transcode and then make the 5300 Accesscode Talker. I do still have 2 more live extenders if things go like really, really wrong, but because I use Circular on this turn, I'm only able to attack with the 1 monster, so gonna have to be with Accesscode here. Oh, the other thing too that I'm going to have to be mindful of is the ray. I don't want this ray effect to go off here, because if it does, they're going to summon Kaina, and then Kaina is going to stop my access code from being able to attack. So I'm just going to use the Diameter negate on the ray effect, and really hope they weren't just holding Imperm or Nibiru here, which they very easily could have been, but they weren't, so I get to just smack my opponent twice for lethal there. So GG's, Kuzma, that was a good game. Let's go and take a look at the next one here. Alright, so my round 6 game I played against Sword Soul, which was actually the only Sword Soul I played against the whole tournament, despite it being the deck with far and away the most entries. So yeah, that was interesting, but yeah, like I said, played against Sword Soul going first here. I was looking at my opponent's build. It's actually pretty similar to the one I was thinking of taking, but they're on 42 cards. They were playing 2 triple tactics talents. So looking at my opponent's hand here, which is still so cool. I kind of can't get over that. But looks like they open an Ash Blossom, but unfortunately for them, 1 Ash Blossom, 1 Disruption is usually not enough to stop Sword Soul, especially because I opened not only Circular, but also Diameter and Equation. The 2 extra, it did reorder the hand. Okay, I thought that might have been the case, but anyway, yeah, I have 2 extenders here, so I can not only play through a negate like this Ash Blossom, but I still get to turn 1 hand snipe with Laplacian, in addition to again, just playing through the Disruption, because I already had the Diameter. So yeah, here I'm going to go for the Link Disciple and Devotee line. I really like the turn 1 hand sniping with Laplacian. I really think that's the way to go. Now, I did give a little bit more thought to maybe including the Final Sigma OTK in the next build that I try, and that is likely going to be the case. That'll try it out. I don't know if it's going to be in my next tournament build for sure, or even if I'm going to for sure play Mathmech in my next tournament build. After some of the showings of like Branded Despia today, and the Addition deck too, like I think a lot of us were inspired by I Wish I Were Dead's games when they were playing Addition, especially that Security Dragon line into the opponent's access code was pretty great. But in any case, yeah, I might try out the Final Sigma OTK for like quote-unquote pure Mathmech in the future. Well, I don't know why I say quote-unquote, it is pure Mathmech. But I really like double Laplacian. I am very much intent on keeping 2 Laplacian in the extra deck. I think turn 1 hand sniping is great. Hitting the Moye here was very, very good to see, in-game. Obviously now we can see they had the, well, I guess 2 Taya doesn't really do anything, but they had the Taya, so, they did have another out, and, putting the Moye in grave does make the Taya alive, but still, seeing that Moye get hit was a very good morale booster. And here, we've got the Apollusa, and we've got 2 Veilers, and then we still, of course, have the Superfactorial set up as well. So yeah, as my opponent moves to battle phase, I'm definitely going to go ahead and just flip up this Factorial to save my Apollusa. You definitely don't want to shotgun the Superfactorials too early. I really like shotgunning IP as soon as possible to make sure I have the monster negates of Apollusa. Plus, when, in the past I've said I don't really like 1600 attack Apollusa, but one thing I will say that is kind of nice about it is that sometimes it'll, like, incentivize your opponent to just, like, go to battle phase just to deal with it so they can make their plays, and, sometimes they will be able to make, plays as a result, but, if it means they've used that turn's battle phase, then you're going to live until your next turn, so you do at least get that much out of it, so... yeah, I'm definitely a lot more up on Apollusa than I was when Circular first came out. But of course, I'm also now, like, more well-versed in Mathmech as a whole, now that, rather since Circular has come out. Yeah, so here I figured I probably had it. I've got the Apollusa, but yeah, my opponent just conceded at that point. They knew I was just going to go for the Accesscode OTK. So GG's Startron. That was my game, round 6, again against Sword Soul. So at this point, I was 5-1. So let's go and take a look at the next duel here. So my next opponent in round 7 was AR-15, who actually ended up making it to the top cut. They were playing Branded Thunder Dragon, and... between this game that I played against them here and also the the comment that MBT made of like, AR-15's got to be somebody. Like, I definitely agree. Like, they played very, very well here. Again, not just against me, but in their Top Cut match that I watched as well, the top 16 round, I believe it was. So, plus their Diamond won, like, already, which is pretty wild. So, yeah, AR-15, very, very good player that I played against here. So, I'm going to start with the Cynet Mining, pitching the Sigma. My hand's looking pretty decent. You know, I have a Circular plus double Maxx and Valor, and I wasn't getting any prompts from my opponent to respond here. So I actually was getting a little bit cocky here, I'm going to admit. I don't really think I ended up misplaying as a result, but, you know, I was kind of thinking to myself, like, oh, they don't have any responses. You know, I've got this game easy, but nah, it wasn't quite so easy. We'll see here. So yeah, I'm going for the equation line to play around negates rather than play around Nibiru. Although, honestly, given that they didn't... I guess the fact that they didn't have negates from my Circular doesn't necessarily mean they weren't on Ash/Failure/Imperm, but they didn't get a prompt to respond either. My opponent could have been hiding the toggle by setting it to off, but I don't know. I felt like that was pretty niche to play around, so... for those who don't know, if you just have Circular and you're doing like the one-card Circular combo, whether you start with Mathmech Equation or Factorial is going to affect like how you're in, what you're able to play around, how you're able to play and what you're able to play around. By searching the equation, I played better around the probability of Ash or Valor or Imperm, because Link Disciple tributes for the cost, and that's mainly what we care about. And then, of course, when you Alembertain, this way you have the Diameter negate. So neither of those are really going to do a whole lot to stop you here. Granted, I guess they do work on the Cyberse Wicckid, the Valor and Ash do, rather. You do have the Linguriboh for Imperm at that point, but that's about the only choke point you've really got during that line. So here my opponent's going to start off with an Allure. I'm going to respond immediately with IP Masquerena. I don't really feel the need to Ash Blossom it, especially because Allure tells me it's probably going to be a branded variant, and I'd obviously rather save the Ash Blossom for the branded fusion. So in response, my opponent actually has a Super Poly pitching Eldritch, which was very scary and very, very bad for me. Obviously not really able to respond to the Super Poly like at all. So yeah, the Storming Venom Fusion Dragon is also actually really bad for me here. This card's actually really, really good against Mathmech, because literally the only ways that Mathmech can out it without getting screwed over are with Laplacian or an access code that was made using IP. This is not the first time I've come up against a Starving Venom playing Mathmech and realized that there's not really as much I can do as I had thought or hoped, so... yeah, on top of that, they get to banish the Mercurial with the Allure here. Obviously, I don't really care about Starving Venom taking Linguriboh's 300 attack points. That's fine. And it looks like they're going to get Springin's Kit. So yeah, here I'm going to fire off the Superfactorial to get rid of the Starving Venom and also see if I can hit something from hand, as well as establishing the Diameter negate. But unfortunately, my opponent's got it called by the Grave, so... yeah, it's going to be a bit of a yikes. I'm going to have to go into Alembertain and search a Diameter here. Now, I do still have Ash and C and Valor in play, in my hand rather, not in play, in my hand. Here I decided to make the Alembertain in defense mode, in case my opponent tried to go for the Brain Diffusion into Albion to try to OTK, but in hindsight I should have just made it in attack mode. It's not super gonna matter, but it could have. It was still a misplay, even though it didn't end up mattering. Now here, this was a great play. Saving the... because usually what I do, and what most people do, is just use Shotgun the Fright for Patchwork right off the bat to see if they have Ash Blossom, but I think waiting for this long until after they got the Brain Diffusion, actually a really, really good line. That puts me in a really tough spot here, and I remember sitting and thinking, like, shoot, like, if I let this resolve, they'll have a Poly. Yeah, I can Ash the Branded Fusion, but they will still have a Poly. They can at the very least make a Masquerade still. So ultimately, and this is going to look really weird, I decided to Ash Blossom the Fright for Patchwork, because I figured if they go for Albion or Rebellion, I can Valor that. So I have an out to that, but if they search up a Polymerization and I Ash Blossom the Branded Fusion and they go for a Tax Dragon, you know, that Tax Dragon could pretty easily be the enemy here. I thought more so than Lubellian / Albion. So that's ultimately why I made the play that I did here. I don't know, that line was very much one where I feel like I really might have been able to do something different. Maybe I could. Like, maybe I really should have just let it resolve. I mean, now that I know what's in their hand. Well, because here's the thing, too, is I didn't know what was in their hand. And that's the other thing is, yeah, the Eldritch. Like, I knew they had the ability to get back the Eldritch. And I knew they could fuse with that, potentially, if I, left the Poly alone. So, I'm going to try to use the Valor to, shave off 300 attack points. But it's actually not going to matter. The Alembertain, summoning that in defense mode, also ultimately didn't end up mattering because my opponent still has an unused Fairy Tale Snow in their graveyard, so they would have been able to play around my Alembertain regardless of what position it was. But that was a great game. AR-15 played a very, very good game there. We've got one more to take a look at. Let's go ahead and take a look at the last round, round 8 that I played. And finally, we have our last round here, which is against Sword Soul. So I was wrong, actually. I thought I only played against one Sword Soul, but it did actually end up being 2. I forgot that was what my last round opponent was on. Thought it was a Mathmech mirror again for some reason. So I noticed my opponent was on Cosmic Cyclones, seemingly instead of Imperms. So they weren't playing any Imperms at all, which is funny. I'll talk about this play in a second here, but it's funny. I had a lot of people ask me, particularly in the YouTube comments, like, why aren't you, you're not playing Feather Duster or any Cosmic Cyclones or anything for Runic? And I was like, no, I didn't really feel the need to. I mean, to be fair, Cosmic Cyclone's also pretty decent against Branded Despia as well, but I didn't really feel the need to. I didn't feel the need to prepare for Runic, because I didn't think there was going to be too many. I thought there was going to be more than 6. There were a total of 6 Runic decks. And I thought there was going to be more than that, but I didn't really think there was going to be too much Runic or Stun shenanigans going on. I pretty much figured that Sword Soul and Mathmech were probably going to bring up, most of the representation there. I thought Branded Despia was going to have a lot more than 10 decks. There were as many Branded Despia decks as Sky Striker, which is wild to me. But I don't know. And it's funny too. Everyone said in that video title, when I titled that video, "Are we sleeping on Branded Despia?" People were like, "No, we're not sleeping on Branded Despia. It deserves Tier 2 status." And I don't know. I was like, the whole time I was like, I don't know. I think it could be a Tier 1 still. And I don't know. To be fair, one tournament finals doesn't necessarily define the meta, but what can I say? I told you so is probably my favorite sentence to say in the world. So any excuse I get to try it out. But anyway. My opponent's going to have a turn 1 Maxx C. And with this deck, and especially with a hand like this, I'm just going to pass on the turn 1 Maxx C. I'm not going to give them any draws whatsoever. I was going to say that's totally fine. They can have that. But obviously I would have liked to have played. But we've got an Impermanent C of our own. So we definitely still have lines. Well, they have Cosmic Cyclones, so we have a C of our own. But thankfully for me, as you can see, my opponent just ended up opening a fairly dead hand with just no action going on. They do have a Called By and a Droplet that I'm going to have to kind of be wary of, but now, I maybe shouldn't have normal summoned that Sigma. Well, I think that did ultimately end up being the right play, but I made it too quickly during the actual tournament. I kind of, no hesitation, just slapped Sigma down on the board. And then I thought afterwards, well, now I can't normal summon a Diameter if I end up wanting to search that, so. Granted, my opponent had an Ash Blossom, so it ultimately didn't end up mattering. And I think it was the right play to normal summon Sigma there, but I should have thought about it a little bit longer. So, yeah, they're going to have an Ash for the Alembertain and then a Called By for the Sigma, so. They're not on much gas, but they're pretty well stopping me from making all the plays that I want to as well. Now, I do actually still have a chance to Accesscode Update Jammer OTK here with the Equation, and that is what I'm going to try to go for, but my opponent does have the Droplet. While that is annoying, they did use their last card to do it, so what I can do is I'm just going to Equation, bring back Alembertain, and then go for the Transcode plus the Heatsoul here because, my opponent dropleted Splash Mage on the summon. I didn't actually activate the effect, so now I get to bring it back with Transcode. Splash Mage brings back Alembertain, and I leak those away for Heatsoul. That's going to be almost lethal. It's too bad, too. If I had If I'd actually used Subtraction, if I normal summoned Subtraction instead of Addition, this actually would have been lethal here. I could have specialed the Addition. Well, actually, no, it wouldn't have, because I still had to use that monster as an extender, right? So never mind. I think it might not have actually been lethal, JK, but... Bit unlucky to draw up 2 Diameter and not get any action, and very lucky of my opponent to rip Emergence off of the top of the deck there, but... you know, because my Transcode and my Heatsoul are co-linked, they're actually not targetable, so there's not really a good level 8 synchro my opponent can even go for here that'll get them out of this. Like, they can't target either of these with Baxia. Chi Shao doesn't do anything. They can't negate, you know, they can't target and negate this to turn off the attack boost. And they can go for Draco Berserker of the 10E, but that's not going to be lethal here, and then I have the Diameter to follow up with. Plus a few draws off of Maxi as well. These Maxi draws are going to be pretty irrelevant, though. Actually, that's not true. That Circular draw is very relevant. Yeah, so they do ultimately end up going for the Draco Berserker, which, like I said, is able to clear my board, but is ultimately not going to be lethal. Yeah, Chi Shao Search wouldn't have done it either, because they already used their normal summon, and they don't have another card for the Long Yon there, so... Circular is going to pitch the Sigma. This is going to be the activation of the Draco Berserker. I was thinking to myself, like, I do have to be mindful of this Draco Berserker, even though I figured it's probably just going to banish the Circular, but... Yeah, between these three, I'm not going to do anything too fancy here. I'm just going to go for Laplacian, send the Draco Berserker, and swing in for lethal. We'll also set up a Diameter negate. Not that I need it, because, you know, they didn't have anything left in the grave there. So, that was it. That was my round 8 there. And I ultimately landed, like I said, on a 6-2 record, finishing in 27th place. So, yeah, that was my time in the Master Circuit series. I had a ton of fun playing. Once again, huge thanks to all of the tournament hosts and organizers, everyone who did all the hard work to make sure today went as smoothly as it did. Thank you again to MBT for hosting, and I'm very much looking forward to playing in future tournaments as well. Yeah, that's about all I've got for this one, so let's just go ahead and move now to the outro. Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end of the video like this. That means a whole lot to me. Not just personally, but it's also a great way of supporting the channel as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other means, you can of course feel free to comment and or subscribe right here on YouTube. I'm always looking to the comments section. You guys leave some pretty awesome feedback as far as like constructive criticism goes when it comes to deck building, gameplay, channel content, all that stuff. So feel free to leave your opinion down there. I will be sure to take a look at that there. And then subscribing is going to be the best way to get notifications of when these videos drop. That does happen every day, by the way, so if you're looking for daily Master Duel content, you've come to the right place. And there are more places where you can get some daily Master Duel content. If you check out the description below, follow the top link over to my Patreon page. There, for just $5 a month, which is as much as you pay for a booster pack, you'll find a lot more value than a pack full of filler over there. We've got some previews for content upcoming here on the channel. We've got some exclusive games that are only posted over on Patreon over there. We've got some Q&As, and then you can also have your name featured in this lovely credit sequence where I thank all of the people who are helping contribute over there on Patreon. It's a huge support to the channel, and it really means a lot as well. So thank you everyone who is donating that is featured here on screen. And again, you know, it's not just a pure donation. You do get some more daily Master Duel content over there just for being a part of the Patreon. But I think that's about all the time that I have for today's video. Once again, I just want to thank you so very much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. Again, it just means a lot, as I do put a decent amount of work into getting these videos out every single day. But that's about all the time that I've got for now. So without further ado, this is Xlex. I'm signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day.